Alright, welcome back everybody to another video. Today's a little bit different. We are just going to go ahead and do some gameplay footage, as a lot of people have been asking for that. Same with this kind of, record the games and then do a voiceover, so that's what I'm going to go with. And the deck we chose today is, what I'm kind of looking into for rotation is going to be Raging Bolt Noctowl. Might become my main deck. Obviously, we do get to win the coin flip there, as you saw. Obviously going to be picking second, as getting donks is pretty simple and pretty easy with decks like Raging Bolt. In this particular build, it works well under Budew, so obviously that's kind of why I'm leaning into it, as well as it's able to hit big numbers into things like Dragapult. And then there is kind of a secret weapon that I will be adding once Journey Together comes out, and that will be the, not so secret anymore, but the Protective Goggles. And the basic Pokemon that it's attached to does not have any weakness. So that's going to be able to protect our Raging Bolts from Lily's Clefairy. So it is going to be the Charizard matchup here. My opponent does Buddy Buddy Poffin for Manaphy and one Charmander. So their rank was pretty low, telling me that this might be an inexperienced player, that they're grabbing a Manaphy in the in the Raging Bolt matchup, but that's fine. We're going to go ahead and bench a Teal Mask here and play Area 0 Underdepths. Stick a Bravery Charm on our active. Realistically, that should have gone onto a Teal Mask, as we would rather attack with Teal Mask in this game, just because it hits Charizard for weakness, and then we just Nest Ball for a Squawk and get a nice fresh hand full of very playable cards. We're going to go ahead and Teal Dance, get our hands on another Teal Mask, and just keep Teal Dancing a little bit there. And we have Unfair Stamp in our hand. Now, we don't really want to reveal that. We're going to bench this Hoot Hoot, go for an Ultra Ball, get rid of Squawk, and that extra Ultra Ball to just grab that Fan Rotom. This is going to make it so we can go for that Noctowl tech this following turn. And even though we didn't get any energy for our Raging Bolt and we're not getting the Donk off, we are in a very nice position for the following turn. And so we're just going to pass there. Now, thankfully, my opponent didn't get a Pidgey down, so I would be a little more concerned if that had been the case. But just having two Charmanders down, now obviously Rare Candy Charizard is always a threat. But because we have that Bravery Charm on there, and even if we didn't, Charizard would not be hitting from knockout. So this Raging Bolt is actually going to tank a hit in the event that they get Charizard out. But they are just going to go into Charmeleon in the active spot here and research away their hand, which is a lot of energy going into the discard pile, which you like to see against these kind of decks. I'm going to go ahead and get an early bench on the Radzard, and that's telling me, okay, this is a pretty inexperienced player. They do go for a Buddy Poffin for another Charmander and a Pidgey. So that, since that Pidgey was obviously in the deck, that should have been the first target instead of that Manaphy, but I'm sure they'll learn. They go for TM Evo, and I think they only target the Charmander here, evolving it up into a Charmeleon, which I thought was a bit strange, because they do just go for Charmeleon there. And I was a bit interested in that play. So I actually look and I'm like, so in tabletop, obviously you have to declare your targets. So I'm trying to see here if they ever declared targets and only picked the Charmander, like their Pidgeotto was prized or something. So that's what that was about. And then we're going to go Noctowl, grab Sada and Vessel here. Take a look at our energy counts. It's all healthy there. Now we do need to get some energy in the discard pile for our Sada to work. So we're going to go ahead and burn our second Noctowl, but I think it's well worth it. Obviously, my opponent has a pretty full bench. They're not playing Duskull Tech is what it looks like. So we're going to grab a Vessel, and then I think we end up going with a Boss for the following turn. Yep, it looks like we do go ahead with that. So we have one Vessel to get some energy and the second Vessel to discard one of those energy. And since we only need the two typings, obviously, Grass is going to be the next pick. For those Teal Masks. So here's the second Vessel, getting that electric in the discard, grabbing another Grass and a Fighting. So now between the Sada in our hand and the electric in our discard, our Raging Bolt is going to come online here, as well as letting us draw 3 cards. So Sada is just such a powerful, powerful supporter, and we even have energy for our Teal Dances. And we still are sitting on that Stamp in our hand. We now have Boss as well. So in the event, here I'm kind of trying to figure out the click thing, messing it up. And there we go. Now we have plenty of energy in play. We debate benching this Cornerstone here, but since we have Ogre's Mask in hand, Really don't see the point. Um, Realistically, I should have, because then if Stadium gets bumped, we'd be able to get rid of Squawk and a Noctowl. But that's fine. And we take a look at our hand. See, there's an electric in hand, so we're gonna discard one of our grass and then one of our electric off the active, because figuring, yeah, we can just either attach to the active, or if we get Ionode, probably Sada it back. Um, as well as keeping energy on our Teal Masks is important here, because like I said earlier, we are going to be hitting Charizard for weakness if and when we attack with our Teal Masks. So my opponent Ultra Balls away a Boss and a Nest Ball for a Charizard EX, obviously their main attacker in this deck. Going ahead and evolving and Infernal Raining. Now they also get the benefit of Area Zero, but I don't think they take advantage of it. I mean, there's not much when you're not playing the Duskull to actually do that, so they are just going to start charging up their Radiant Alakazam, or Radiant Charizard on the back and hit into us for only 210, because we've only taken one prize card, so not even taking Knockout. And because of that Bravery Charm, even if we had taken 2 prizes that last turn somehow, they still wouldn't have been taking Knockout. So we just take a second, peek at the discard pile, wondering, all right, are we using this Night Stretcher for anything? Just figuring out the best line here, and we do actually go ahead and grab a Grass to just Teal Dance again, draw another card. I think we were looking for a Sada was the hope. Even though we have the electric in hand, I wanted to start charging up another Raging Bolt on the bench. So we're going to go ahead, use an Ultra Ball, get rid of Cornerstone because we do have Ogre's Mask, and then 1 Fighting Energy for that Sada. And we'll grab another Raging Bolt here, just so we can start charging it up, hopefully. Though it doesn't look like we are going to find Sada this turn, as we don't really have any way to draw. So just kind of looking at our hand, picking our options, and we are just going to attach to the active spot. Not Iono, because they only have 2 cards in hand, and go for Knockout. We're going to discard all from the active here, assuming that they're going to take the response Knockout. And also this is going to let us keep some of that grass energy in play again to take care of those pesky Charizards. And there's a Sada, which is always a lovely, lovely sight in Raging Bolt here. And they promote a Charmander. Now my opponent has only 3 cards left in their hand. There's an Ultra Ball, getting rid of their hand. And I think they... What do they end up grabbing? I don't remember. They end up grabbing another Charizard. So definitely an inexperienced player. So they just have 1 Charizard in their hand, and that's it. Now I'm in this awkward position where they didn't take Knockout on my Raging Bolt, and I discarded all of the energy from it. So we do get to use that Sada here, and thankfully we draw into an electric, so we are just going to be able to keep attacking with this active one. But we need some more energy in play for future turns. But since we're not really too threatened, we know they have a 1-card hand, we're just going to discard the 1 energy from that benched Raging Bolt so we can keep on attacking. Now, this was actually a misplay, because at this point they could have just gone Radzard. Because I think it's just the 4, right? If I remember, but it's been a while. Regardless, I should have taken 1 off of the active there for fear of Radzard, but it didn't end up mattering. There was a cut there that you guys didn't see because my opponent did actually just quit the game. So we're just going to play out our turns here. Make sure that we're prepped in case they do come back and suddenly go Rare Candy Pidgeot, or, you know, Thornton Rare Candy Zard, which I find unlikely. You know, obviously this isn't the greatest player in the world, but we're just going to play it out as if we need to be cautious of that threat. Really going through the motions, trying to play the deck the best we can. So, and then we just take out their active Manaphy for 1 and wait for our opponent. We click into the log there and see opponent did not take action in time. So game 1, and we already took a Rage Quit from a Charizard, albeit not the best Charizard player. So pretty decent start. Hopping into the next game. Now we see 512. Okay, so now we actually have a pretty decent player on our hands. Um, Even though climbing ladder isn't the biggest deal. Winning the coin flip again, we get to choose second, is really, really nice for us. Again, hopefully to get those donks. But this hand is not nice for us. We do not have any ball cards in hand. We don't have our Iona. We don't really have anything going on. We do have our Teal Mask and a Grass, so we're going to get to see one extra card. But we are just going to put Cornerstone in the active here. And we see Bone Sweet. So we know that we're already going to have a hard time. You guys are going to get to see what Serena does here, so I won't just blurt it out. They do have Buddy Poffin in their starting hand, pretty healthy. And then this is where we get to see that it is a Serena Frostlass build. You'll see that Snorunt come out in a second here as they kind of get done with their deck check. So I'm very nervous, to say the least. Obviously, Serena EX itself is a water type, and we have not rotated yet, so it is Irida searchable. So we're just going to try and do all that we can, and our hand is just dead as can be. We're going to boss up this Snorunt to try and stall them for another turn, needing them to attach retreat. And then I think we end up vesseling here. Yeah, we're going to vessel here just to thin the deck a little more, hopefully making it so that we can draw into something. I don't foresee needing our Slitherwing at all this matchup, so just kind of glancing through the deck, and yeah, like there weren't tons of basics prized or anything. We just had very, very poor luck in our starting hand here, unfortunately. So we are going to go ahead and grab, I believe it's Grass Fighting. Yep. And then we attach the Fighting to the active here, putting the threat of Demolish in play, but also making it so that we can retreat that if we have to. And unfortunately, they do just have Irida in their hand, grabbing Serena Rare Candy, getting that Serena EX in play. And unfortunately, they also have Frostlass in their hand and an energy to retreat it. So not wonderful for us. Thankfully, we did keep that Bravery Charm around, so we are going to be able to keep whatever they target alive here. And they are going to go ahead and Icicle Soul on our Teal Mask, bringing it down to 30 HP left for those who don't know. And then Frostlass is going to slowly take care of the rest. And we get Unfair Stamp, which is pretty useless in this matchup because everything goes down to Frostlass, which is in between turns, unfortunately. So we Teal Dance our way into a Beach Court, which does not feel good. We smack that Bravery Charm on our Teal Mask just to try and buy those turns. And at this point, I'm not feeling too great. We're not going to attach because we want to be able to Teal Dance to draw us another card to try and stay in this somehow. But it's looking quite grim. And there's a Night Stretcher for that energy, which means they're just going to Trop Kick our Cornerstone for 180, meaning it will go down to Frostlass in the return here, as you'll see. And I think that's all they did with their turn. Yeah, they just Trop Kick for 180, Frostlass up to 210. Now, that would have been game there had it not been for that Bravery Charm. But as you'll see, the game reminding us that it is a card game, and no matter how good the deck is, you can draw poorly. So go ahead, Teal Dance, trying to find something. We get an Ultra Ball. I'm trying to think of outs, looking at our hand, and realistically, I don't see any potential way for us to stay in this game. Unfortunately, we could Ultra Ball for something like, we probably could grab our Raging Bolt, which does not have an ability, but I mean, they would just Trop Kick us. We have no energy or Sadas, so we do just go ahead and concede there. There wasn't really anything we could do. The game kind of cursing us and our opponent having a perfect game. But let's not worry about that. Let's just move on, hop into the next game here. Now, I didn't notice this at first, but my opponent is actually in Riolu, which is like the training ground. So it's either a player that's never played before, or it is a new account. So we do win the coin flip again. So really good luck with the coin flips, thankfully. So we do get to go second, starting Fan Rotom, Squawk, and Nest Ball. So feeling pretty comfortable. Now I see the dark sleeves here. So I put the Fan Rotom in the active, so Assault Landing is potential. But I don't. I also bench the Squawk because if this is a deck with the Poison package, if you guys aren't familiar, that's Brute Bonnet, Baby Pecktront, and Radiant Sneasler. They would be able to donk me without me ever taking a turn. So we are actually going to put this Squawk on the bench as well. And we see Radiant Charizard. So first thought is, all right, Dark Sleeves, Radiant Charizard is probably just Charizard. And I was kind of unnecessarily doing those extra things. They are just going to attach to their active here and get rid of a TM Evo as well as a Super Rod, which already makes me think, okay, this is probably not the best player if they're getting rid of a Super Rod, knowing you're going to have to retreat this Radiant Charizard. But they grab a Pidgey with an Ultra Ball, so I know, okay, they're in a really bad spot. So I'm kind of weighing my options. What can I do with this turn? We're going to Nest Ball for a Teal Mask. Now, realistically, my best line, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. Okay, I have one boss in deck. I have one Beach Court in deck. I don't have any Pokestops in deck. And I have 2 Area Zeros. I think it was 2. So the likelihood that I can get a Stadium in play and a Boss's Orders is pretty much the same likelihood if I get... well, it's actually a little worse now that I think of it. Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, it is slightly worse because than me getting Sada and Beach Court specifically. And so we do end up squawking and seeing a Sada, but still no way we wouldn't have been able to get Fan Rotom out of the active. So ideally we would have been able to boss up that Pidgey and knock it out with Assault Landing, or we would have been able to knock out this Radiant Charizard with our own Raging Bolt. So we do just go for a little fan call here to end off our turn. I believe we just end off our turn there. Dropping in a Hoot Hoot. We go for an Ultra Ball here because we want to get some energy in discard. We haven't used our supporter yet. I don't think we're going to need Bravery Charm, so I do discard that. Grabbing ourselves a Teal Mask. And kind of debating what I put in that extra bench spot. I do decide that the other Hoot Hoot is going to be the best, and then I'll be able to use our supporter. The main purpose of that Ultra Ball was to get one energy in discard so that we could support her. Just so we could start charging up a Raging Bolt in case my opponent had a very explosive turn here. And now we have fighting in hand. We're in a pretty comfortable spot. My opponent grabs Ultra Ball and TM Evo off of an Arven here. And then they're going to Ultra Ball away TM Evo and Charmeleon, grabbing themselves Pidgeot, 2 cards in hand. Lo and behold, is going to be that rare candy Pidgeot, as we kind of deducted there. So they have 0 cards in hand. They use their supporter for turn, but they do have Pidgeot online here. So now since we have double Noctowl in hand, obviously this is just going to be a matter of going and trying to get my hands knocking out that Charmeleon, or that Charmander, excuse me. Now my opponent should have grabbed a Buddy Poffin off of this, and then grabbed another Charmander and maybe something else. But they do end up just going and grabbing a Budew. So big misplay from my opponent. But they're playing this out. Other than that one misplay, they've been doing a pretty good job. Obviously, they wanted to get rid of that Super Rod because they had other things in their hand, and they are just going to scoop there. So despite being in Riolu, it was a very attentive, I think that would be the right word, opponent. They were doing a pretty good job with what they could. Obviously using an Ultra Ball to grab a Pidgey on turn 1 is not the best feeling in the world. But we're just going to go ahead and get into our next game here. We got a player in Lugia, so they've been playing the game, maybe just not pushing ladder at all, But I believe this is one of the... I had a couple of really nice games, and I think this is one of them. So yeah, my opponent does win the coin flip. Did finally catch up to me. I wasn't going to win them all. After all, it is 50-50. And we do end up going first. So not ideal, but that does just mean we're going to be able to use our Noctowls sooner, and we give up a mulligan here. But thankfully, so does my opponent, so they are going to cancel out there. And we see Dusclops. So my first thought is Dragapult, because Dusclops Dragapult is really strong. And then my opponent gives up another mulligan, which does cement, okay, this is Dragapult Dusclops. And we do have to start a Hoot Hoot, which isn't the greatest, but we got two Nest Balls in hand, and we got two Grass Energy, and we're going first anyway. So, and we do even get a Raging Bolt off of the draw. So here I'm going to grab a Teal Mask. Now in the Dragapult matchup, you want to try and avoid benching Squawk as much as you can. Obviously, there's ways in the deck to get rid of it by going Area 0 and then Beach Court the next turn, but benching Squawk can be really dangerous in this matchup just because it is susceptible to not only getting one shot by Dragapult, but also if they place 3 damage counters and use Dusknoir, that is going to be perfect math to deal 160, and they still get extra 3 damage counters to spread as they wish. So we are going to try and avoid that Squawk ability as much as possible. We're going to go Nest Ball, grab ourselves a Fan Rotom, and Fan Call our way into some Noctowls, as well as our remaining Hoot Hoot, as one of them is in the active spot. Well, what happened here? I don't quite recall. I think taking a moment to think, yeah. We're gonna debate where to attach this, and we end up attaching it to Fan Rotom, I think. Yeah, we do end up putting it on the Fan Rotom, figuring I can Noctowl to find myself that Beach Court, and then I'll be able to use Assault Landing to knock out a Dreepy, hopefully. So my opponent does go Buddy Poffin for Budew, Dreepy, and then a second one for another Dreepy and a Dusclops. So we had a pretty solid turn, getting full full Noctowl setup, and my opponent had a pretty decent turn as well. They did have to attach Retreat, not getting that rescue board, but we do get Budewed here, which thankfully this deck is built to survive, and we were able to get that Fan Rotom off without getting Ionode. I think the biggest struggle with this deck is when you have to go first, and you use your Fan Rotom, get Noctowl Tech, and then you get Ionode and Budewed. That's got to be the worst. So we do decide that we're just going to attach Retreat into this Fan Rotom, because that's going to get a Fighting Energy in our discard pile so that we can use Sada to start powering up our Raging Bolt. So we're going to drop in the Area 0, so we're going to be able to Assault Landing, because you do need a Stadium in play for that, and go for a Noctowl here, getting our first Jewel Seeker, grabbing Sada, taking a look at our hand, and I think we go Sada Vessel. Yeah, looks like it. Because that way we're going to have a Raging Bolt ready to go, even though we're taking the knockout with our Fan Rotom this turn. And I'm fine doing this. Not only it does give them like counter catcher access and stuff, but it is going to be worth it at the end of the day, because in this particular matchup you're not too concerned about the prize trade, or the prize prize trade, I think would be the right term. The line that you're going, prize route, drawing a blank, just because they're going to end up probably using one of their Dusknoirs or Dusclops to take that first knockout that you did on a single prizer and turn it into 2 prizes that you have made. So we're definitely okay taking a knockout, and we do even leave the Fan Rotom active, so my opponent's going to have to do something about that. We do get Ionode out of our second Noctowl and a pretty big hand, but we get a couple ball cards, so we're feeling good. We even have a Night Stretcher to recover something if need be. Now my opponent does bench a Pheasantipity, and so my eye is directly on that, because at this point I'm planning out how I'm taking my prize cards. We took one. Now preferably I'm taking 2 prizes here, and then taking another 2 prizes on a Dragapult the turn following, and then my opponent can be locked out of Dusclops, or if they used one, that'll win the game for me. So thankfully, because we did focus on getting that Sada off last turn, just so we have an energy in play, this Ultra Ball is going to find that Noctowl that just got thrown away on us. I think that's what I do. That's what I would do. But obviously, we did get our opponent counter catcher access, and they do counter catcher. I think this was a bit of a misplay. Up our Teal Mask, which can pay for its own retreat. This probably should have been a Noctowl, because a lot of Raging Bolt decks, this one does not, but a lot of them do run Gladius, so this definitely should have been for Noctowl, so we would have to attach in order to retreat. And that would have actually made it so we couldn't get the Boss's Orders play on that Fezandipity. But we are going to end up discarding Area Zero and a Nest Ball to grab that Noctowl here. Take a look at the deck, just double checking. Yes, Boss is in deck. And yes, we do have the energy needed. So I'm going to go ahead, drop in this Noctowl here. Excuse me. Grab ourselves Boss's Orders as well as Earthen Vessel. And this play is just coming together exactly as we would hope. Kind of figuring out, okay, what else might be needed. Nothing really in discard. We have Night Stretcher in hand, so we have no problem getting rid of this Fez. So go ahead, grab a Grass so we can Teal Dance. Grab an Electric so we can attack. We do find another energy. Not super necessary at this point. Go ahead and retreat here into that Raging Bolt. Boss's Orders up Fez, which does only take 3 energy, thankfully. All the 2/10 support take exactly 3. It is pretty nice. So we're going to discard 1 from the active because we have a fighting in our hand. Take 1 off that Fan Rotom and 1 off of the Teal Mask. For a big knockout there. And now I'm pretty cemented in my prize route. Going 1 prize, 2 prize, 2 prize, and then letting my opponent use Dusknoir is going to be the go-to route here. My opponent promotes a Dracloak, so obviously looking to respond, which at this point in the game they do need to. We're getting kind of late. I'm obviously in a pretty comfortable position. My board state isn't the greatest, but my hand is going to allow me to do tons of different things. So I'm very comfortable right now, just watching my opponent play out their turn. They rebench the Fez so they can flip the script again. They're really, really digging here, and they do have the Crispin, so my opponent is going to be able to, I imagine, get the attack off, as they do have a massive hand. And they grab they grab a Darkest Energy, which tells me, okay, Munkidori is also in this deck. And of course, they have Dragapult set up. Now, this Nest Ball does grab them a Munkidori, so even though they revealed that Dark Energy, it doesn't matter all that much. They do go ahead and fail a Nest Ball, or a Buddy Poffin there, just thinning out their deck a bit. Go ahead and they Ultra Ball away a Jacques, and I think that was a Buddy Poffin. They're debating what to grab here. I think it ends up being a Dracloak. Oh my. Yeah, they end up grabbing a Dracloak. Probably just scanning through the deck there, figuring out, okay, what are my lines? What's the best way? How am I winning this? Coming back from 6 to 3. And they do end up getting a Hawlucha here off of their Recon Directive, I imagine. It could have been in hand. Setting up our Rotom for residual damage, and setting up our Teal Mask so it can get knocked out. And there they go, popping that Dusknoir on our active. So we will have that prize line that we were talking about, and we find ourselves a Teal Mask off that prize they took. Now, obviously, our Raging Bolt is going to be going down here to this Dragapult, and they are going to use that residual damage to take 3 prizes here, knocking out that Fan Rotom, leaving us with, again, not the best board state, but we have a very comfortable hand to try and back it up. And just to top things off, we get an energy retrieval, so we're going to be able to Teal Dance all day here, baby. Go ahead and grab 2 grass there. Just take a look at the board, wanted to see what was in my hand. Just benching out all of our Teal Masks, no point in not. Nest Ball grabs me Raging Bolt here. I was debating grabbing Slitherwing, but there really is no realistic point in doing that. I would need Boss and Sada in order to take out the Fezandipity, and obviously Dusknoir and Munkidori are going to be able to take it out, or Dusknoir Hawlucha. So I decide that Raging Bolt is the thing that makes the most sense, just taking out their active Dragapult for our last 2. And thankfully, we do end up finding a Sada, which puts us in a really nice spot here. Now, we do get the beach court as well, which we would have had the energy in hand anyway, but we don't end up needing it. Um, yeah, we don't end up needing the energy in our hand. My opponent does go ahead and scoop there. They see that we have 5 energy in play. We have our Raging Bolt. That's going to be the game there. So, really nice game there against my opponent. Despite having to go first, we do end up having a very, very nice line. Get to follow that line and hop into the next game here. Okay, we see a Dragapult coin, so not too hard to guess what we're thinking our opponent is going to be playing. Go ahead, and they do win the coin flip here. Yeah, earlier I was making cuts out of the long pieces, but it looks like I forgot to do it in the second recording. So anytime my opponent takes extra time, I apologize. I was trying to get those cuts out, but my opponent does choose first. So thankfully we are going to be going second, which is what we want to do. And we have a lot of Pokemon in our starting hand, as well as a Nest Ball. So just looking at what's available, we're going to go Teal Mask. Obviously, we have Beach Court in hand, so it didn't really matter what we put out. But Teal Mask is not super revealing. There's a lot of decks that play that, as well as Teal Dance can pay for its own retreat cost in the event that it has to. So we do see it is obviously going to be the Dragapult matchup. Coin kind of gave it away. And so starting Fan Rotom could have been smart there, but I wanted to play as if I didn't know already. Which, to be honest, I don't remember if I was focused on their coin. I've been doing that a lot less lately. Just figuring tabletop, you probably aren't going. Your opponent is going to synchronize their sleeves with the deck. So while it is kind of a fun guessing game on TCG Live, it's not super accurate. So my opponent does go ahead and grab their needed energy off of this vessel and pass it right on over. So they do have a Fez and 2 Dreepies in play, and we're going to use the Nest Ball for a Squawk, but we draw into it here. So really nice setup here for our turn 1. So this Nest Ball is going to get to be dedicated to a Raging Bolt. I was kind of bouncing back and forth between grabbing another Teal Mask or the Raging Bolt to hopefully draw more cards to try and get this Fan Rotom knockout on turn 1. But we do end up just going for the Raging Bolt. We're not going to waste the bench space with this Pheasantipity, as we can get it back later if we have to. We get to rip this Flip the Script. So I should have used the Earthen Vessels before. I also should have used Fan Rotom before I was Teal Dancing here, so I would have a higher likelihood of finding what I wanted. So that's called thinning. I should have thinned my deck of those cards that I'd be grabbing anyway. But that's just a mistake that I did go ahead and make here. I do have a Sada in hand, and I decide to end up benching this other Teal Dance here, or Teal Mask here, discarding an Electric, so we have fuel for the Sada. We have the Fighting in hand. We have the Electric in discard. We plan on attacking with Fan Rotom, so we do just go ahead and grab Double Grass here. We're going to Teal Dance one more time. End up seeing another grass, so didn't make much of a difference. We're going to go ahead and get free retreat from the Beach Court. First, we're going to go ahead and Sada the 1 energy on, draw 3 new cards, then Fan Call, so we can get that Noctowl tech in our hand. Obviously, we only have 1 Hoot Hoot on the bench because we wanted to draw more with Teal Mask, but that's okay. We'll just be able to save it for later. Go for the Assault Landing, and my opponent did put the energy on the active Dreepy, which does kind of put them on the back foot for the rest of the game here. So I wasn't sure if it was Dusclops Dragapult at this point. So, and yes, we're not supposed to be benching our Squawks against Dragapult, but sometimes you can't really get away with it, and it was just such a powerful turn 1 because we were able to Squawk. Sometimes you have to weigh risk and reward. Obviously, since I saw that I'd be taking their energy out of play, they would need either Crispin or Sparkling Crystal just to get attacks off. Um, so I did decide that that would be worth it. Nest Ball here for Radiant Alakazam, and they did get an attachment to Dragapult, and they do have Counter Catcher access, so they're going to bring up a Hoot Hoot here. Obviously, Jet Headbutt is going to be able to knock that out, and they go for an Iono. So, a bit of a shame losing that hand. It was a nice hand, but the Noctowls would be useless anyway, as this Hoot Hoot is going to get knocked out. They do stick Rescue Board on Radiant Alakazam, just kind of as a liability, as it could very easily get trapped in the active, is its biggest problem. And then we do see a Dusknoir hit the discard pile, so we do see it is going to be Dusknoir Dragapult, and Jet Headbutt is going to knock out the active here. So at this point, they have a big two-prizer in the active spot. There's no point in going in with Fan Rotom, so we're going to go in with that Raging Bolt. Here we're going to Nest Ball, find ourselves that Hoot Hoot back. Well, not back, but the one that got Iono'd away. So we can get that on the bench. And we do have Area Zero in hand. I don't recall if I play it or not. We'll see in a minute here. Just kind of weighing my options, seeing, all right, how am I knocking this out, counting out my energy, which obviously I'll do fine. We do decide that benching or throwing down this Area Zero is going to be fine. We'll go ahead, get rid of that Nest Ball with Earthen Vessel. Go ahead and grab Grass Fighting. Get to do a Teal Dance here. And find Stretcher. So Stretcher for that Pheasantipity is very viable because they did take a knockout on our Hoot Hoot. Which, since we had the Fan Rotom in play, that did make sense for them to do because they're not really messing up their own prize trade. So, but we do get Flip the Script access now. We could have gotten away with not doing this, but my hand was just so small, I wasn't really comfortable moving into the next turn with just those two cards. So we are going to go ahead, get the energy off of our, all the grass energy off. So we have an energy retrieval in our hand now. And we will go ahead and get rid of an electric off the active. Didn't make much of a difference which one we got off because we don't have any in hand. So do get the knockout there. Draw into two prizes. We find Sada and Bravery Charm. So Sada is always nice to see, as you guys know, but we had the energy retrieval in hand anyway, so it would be possible for us to attack without her, as well as we do have a Noctowl. And our bench is big here by benching that Pheasantipity. So in the event that they were able to get the bump, we would be able to get rid of our Squawk ability, which is the biggest liability in this matchup, I'd say. Now they do get the Rare Candy Dragapult here. I'm sure they got one of the pieces off of their Flip the Script, as they had a relatively small hand. I mean, a decent hand. But they do have energy, they do have crystals, so they are going to get to fire back at us. They bench themselves a Tatsugiri. But other than having this active, they do end up counter-catching, so, and there's that Squawk ability. Like I was talking about, that does just get knocked out right away, loading them up with prize cards, which is not nice to see. So my opponent does just go ahead and spread out all the damage, setting up Pheasantipity, setting up our Teal Masks, and putting 30 onto our Raging Bolt, which isn't super impactful, except for that they could Radzam it. They could use Radiant Alakazam to move some damage off of one of our bench Pokemon to the active, putting it within 200 damage, which isn't nice, obviously. Excuse me, big yawn there. So we're going to go ahead and put the Bravery Charm on that active Raging Bolt, making it so that is no longer a threat. This Raging Bolt is going to live through Radiant Alakazam Phantom Dive. Energy Retrieval does grab us 2 grass energy, so we're going to get to do some Teal Dancing here. Not only getting energy in play, but drawing cards. And we find another Noctowl, which at this point, it's just going to be Ultra Ball Fuel. He knocked out one of our Hoot Hoots on turn 1, but we do have Flip the Script access, which is nice, seeing a handful of energy there. And then we are going to end up Ultra Balling, getting rid of Noctowl, and I think, yep, Area 0. Go ahead and just grab another Raging Bolt. It's going to be another target for our Sada, getting more energy in play primarily, but also be an option for a backup attacker in the unlikely event that this active goes down. The reason I say unlikely is just because it won't be going down this next turn. Here I'm struggling with the click to attach again. Here we get rid of a Fighting and a Nest Ball. That Fighting is just going to be more fuel for our Sada. We're going to go ahead and grab a Teal Mask here. We have Night Stretcher in hand, so we'll be able to get energy back if we need it, but this will put more than enough energy in play. Well, actually, not more than enough. 1 extra than enough. Oh yeah, just enough. 5. So we do have attachment for turn still. We do have Noctowl access, which we're going to go ahead and use to really try and get comfortable for this next turn. We're going to grab Unfair Stamp, as well as, what do we end up grabbing? Take a look at our energy here. See, there's not a lot left. So we're going to grab a Pal Pad so we can hopefully reuse our Sadas later on. Yeah. So yeah, just powering back up, filling the deck with Sadas, making it really, really likely that we draw into them. Sticking an energy for turn onto Raging Bolt, just taking a look at the hand, saying, okay, is there anything else that I'm doing here? What do I need to Ultra Ball for? Just trying to ask the right questions, figuring out what is kind of going on with the board state. How can my opponent win this is what I'm thinking at this point. We go ahead and bench Slitherwing, assuming it's not going to make any difference. Obviously, they're going to be trying to take that Fan Rotom. And we go ahead and Unfair Stamp here, taking my opponent down to 2 cards in hand. So really trying to make it so they can't take Knockout. Obviously, my biggest fear is that they just have everything they need. They're obviously going to have Flip the Script. And my opponent has a very clear line to win. They would need Counter Catcher. They would need Crispin. And then obviously they would need Dragapult. Because Radzam could make it so they put 10 damage counters onto our Fan Rotom, putting it in Phantom Dive range, counter catching up either Fez or one of the Teal Masks that have damage on it, and that would be game there. So here I'm figuring out, okay, what energy am I discarding? Does it make any difference? And I decide, yes, it does. We have an Electric in hand, so we're going to keep that in hand. Obviously, we have the Sadas as well. So it didn't really matter that much. Obviously, Iono to 1 would not be great, but because of those Sadas, we wouldn't have. It didn't matter because of those Sadas, is what I'm trying to say. But we did have the Electric in hand, so we discarded the Electric from the active and the Fighting from the bench. For those who are wondering why I was taking so long on that. So my opponent promotes Dracloak. They do Recon Directive. They do Flip the Script. Gonna go ahead, thin out their deck a little bit here. Buddy Poffin for a Duskull. Now, at this point, they can't use Dusknoir, obviously, but they're trying to get that line that we were talking about. So they do evolve. They have the Dragapult. So at this point, they just need Counter Catcher and Crispin. So they do end up moving damage off of our active onto the Teal Mask on the bench. Lining that up so we can't just promote it and have a free guy. But they do end up, Boss's Orderings are Fez, to try and stall, I believe. Because they did end up using their Radzam, and because they needed to use Boss as opposed to Counter Catcher, and they no longer have their Sparkling Crystal, there is no way for them to use Phantom Dive this turn. So they end up Ultra Balling to grab their Rotom here. So since they don't have any way to attack, Rotom is the next best deal. So they're just going to go ahead and do that. Now here I'm trying to figure out, okay, is there any way that we can get enough energy in play to knock out this Dragapult? And since we did take energy off of both of our Raging Bolts, we would have to Sada to get an attack off. Now, I Earthen Vessel away the Pokegear here. which I probably should have kept. It didn't end up making a difference, but we're just doing a little bit of a deck check here, a little search. I probably should have gotten rid of the Iono there. Just because if we did get Iono, the Pokegear would be an option to look at effectively the rest of our deck and try and find whatever supporter we needed. Go ahead and we Ultra Ball away our Iono as well as one energy, and we're going to check the discard to figure out which would matter. It doesn't. This Ultra Ball is going to thin the deck a little bit more, so hopefully we can find what we need. Now here we're going to need a Night Stretcher in order to get enough energy in play. And at this point, it doesn't really matter which I put this on. We do end up putting it on the Raging Bolt because that would be the attacker. And unfortunately, we do not see that one final Night Stretcher that's in deck. So we will be one short of knockout after we attach Retreat, which obviously we do have to attach Retreat. Otherwise, my opponent can just Crispin for the win. We're going to force them to have Crispin Counter Catcher. So attach Retreat. Obviously, only 4 energy in play is 280. Missing knockout, so instead of doing the attack and putting the damage out there and discarding the energy as well, I believe we do just end turn. Yep. Taking a look, seeing, okay, is there even any way that we can win this turn? And there is not. There isn't. We have Professor Sada in hand, as well as Boss's Orders, so we do just go ahead and hit end turn. So my opponent is very, very close to winning, but so are we. They're going to attach 4 Sealstone to Rotom, getting them 1 piece closer. So the question then was, do they have one of these pieces in their hand already? The other thing, I do take a deck check here, or a discard check here. A lot of Dragapult lists. Yep, we're going to take a look. There's the Crystal. We're kind of glancing for Crispins. They haven't used any yet. A lot of Dragapult lists have lately. Now we're going to look at energy. We see 2 fighting in the discard, which gives me a glimmer of hope, as a lot of Dragapult lists run 2 fire and 3 psychic, and then the crystal. They do end up finding Crispin off of the V-Star, going psychic to hand, fire to their active, and then my heart sunk. I was like, oh no, do they have the counter catcher in hand? Buddy Poffin. I was thinking maybe not. They try to thin their deck. Obviously, their deck is empty at this point of Pokemon, or at least anything Buddy Poffin searchable. And they do Painful Spoons to set up that Fan Rotom for the knockout. But thankfully, they do end up going ahead and Phantom Diving here, which is wonderful news for us. It means we're going to have enough energy because we have that Sada in our hand to win this game. They take knockout on Fan Rotom, set up another Teal Mask, and that's going to be the game there. So my opponent was 1 card away from winning. Very well played by my opponent as well. We're going to go ahead, get that energy in play. They give us the thumbs up. A very, very quality game, I would say. And we're just going to go ahead and discard all that energy for that final knockout, giving my opponent the thumbs up. Had a lot of fun that game, so thank you guys for watching. It was a bit of a longer video, but this is the kind of format that people have been asking for, so like and subscribe, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Go ahead, comment down below what kind of videos you guys want me to be making next if you liked this format, and yeah, have a wonderful day.